What is up, everybody? It's Friday, so it's time for another cook up. You guys voted you want a swanky R&B groove, and I support democracy, so we're going to make that. If you want to get in on the voting, go head over to Instagram, give me a follow. Let's get to cooking. Swanky R&B, swanky R&B. What does one make some swanky R&B? Ooh, I think like that. That's kind of swanky. And then B flat again. A. And then. Ooh. We got a chord progression. Now let's see if I can play it. So that's a little 12 bar progression, which is nice. A lot of the stuff I've been doing has been 8. Cool to switch it up. So we're just going to go in here and clean it up. I'm going to scroll this up some so I can see the whole MIDI roll. I'm sorry that you can't see all of it. So I'm not going to quantize everything because I want to have some of that human variation when I play the keys. But I will go ahead and legato everything. See how that screwed some of them up, but the rest of them are held out for the whole extent. I'm just going to drag those over to fill up the bar. Drag these over to fill up the bar. I'm going to slide this one back some. And these two, because I missed those when I first played. If you're in Ableton and you're moving anything around, a clip in your timeline or notes in your MIDI roll, if you hold Alt, that turns off the lock to grid function and it lets you just slide. So you hold down your left click and then you hold Alt and it lets you slide anywhere without locking to the grid. One thing to get used to though, keep holding Alt until you let go. If you let go of Alt first and then you let go of your mouse or your trackpad or whatever you're moving around with, then it will snap to the grid closest to it. And now I want to add a little bit of variability. There were some notes that I hit that had a little bit too much velocity. So what you can do is you can go drag a velocity plugin from the MIDI effects, and you can change how high you want the output to be and how low you want the lowest notes to be. I want to have a pretty narrow amount of velocity difference because I'm not trying to make it sound like some notes are being pounded and some are super delicate. But then you can crank up this random, and now we have a little bit of different velocity. Makes it feel a little bit more human, not so robotic. So we got our chord progression. We got some keys, a little Wurlitzer. You guys know by now I like my whirly. So let's go ahead and make this MIDI track that we have a pad as well. Let's see what Codex has to offer. So I dragged down this first slider here under VCA. If you have Codex, it can be a bit to wrap your mind around when you first look at it if you're not super experienced with synths. But this right here is just basically our attack. We have our attack, decay, sustain, and release. I'm going to leave those kind of alone for this preset and just drop down our attack so that it doesn't feel like the last chord is hanging over too long before the new chord comes in. And in the last CookUp, I talked to you guys through how to clean up your pads a little bit. So we are going to get rid of that low octave, and we're going to invert some of these chords, maybe delete some of the voicings as well, just to clear them up some. I like the sound of that. It's coming together. And as I go, I'm just going to rename my tracks. So we got our pad, got our whirly. I'm going to rename these over here as well, just to keep everything nice and tidy, squeaky clean even. So we'll go back and we'll add some extra little sparkles. Probably throw the crystallizer on there. It's one of my favorite plugins. But let's add some percussion to this. I don't know if it's R&B if it doesn't have a snap in it. So we're going to add one. So the first thing you'll see is Snap has some baked in reverb. One way we can get around that, there's multiple ways, but the way I'm going to get around it is I'm going to keep it on beats, warped as beats, and I'm going to go down to the transients. This will probably work at quarter for this particular sample. Turn that on to forward only, and then drag it down from 100%. Let's try 30-ish, 32. Yeah, hear that? We made it so that every quarter note of the sample only goes forward about 32% or so of that quarter note, which will give a nice cutoff to that reverb. And that just keeps you from having to drag this around exactly where you want that reverb to stop. And now, classic R&B fashion, we're going to be putting these snaps on the 3. All right, so I got a kick in here. And again, like I was saying in the last video, and I'm probably going to say it over and over, make sure your kick is in key, especially when you start adding in the bass, whether it's an 808 or live bass or MIDI bass, anything with those low frequencies. Your kick's not in key, you're going to have a bad time. I'm going to take my offbeat kicks. I'm going to drop down the volume quite a bit. And that's going to make them feel a little bit more human as well. It's R&B, so we're going to keep it simple. Got a kick, snap on beat 3, and hi-hat on every other measure. And it's just a nice, big, kind of warm, open hi-hat. And that's what we're going to stick with. Let's add a little bit of keys lead lines. So yeah, authentic PWM lead. Brought the cutoffs down in both the filters. Turned off the chorus echo. Let's add some swanky lead lines. So I froze my original whirly track and my pad because I'm going to flatten them because there's a little bit more versatility when you're using the waveforms, just like fading stuff in, fading it out, and just kind of messing around with the overall vibe of things. All right. I've got, I think, all the elements that I need right now. I'll probably add a little bit of extra stuff on top after I get more of the foundation, but there's not much left really. I'm going to add a passive bass. And then probably some wah guitar, maybe some pretty chords. We'll see. But this is going to be about it. my bass laid down. Now I'm going to add some wah guitar bits on top. Probably record a bunch and decide what I want to keep. All right. Well, there's not much to this one. I added in a little bit of wah guitar, kind of followed some of these bass lines like right here, and then added a little harmony wah thing at the end. Kept it simple. So let's add a little bit of extra textures here. Just some effects, maybe some glitter, that kind of stuff to keep it from being too stale and to fill up the space sonically a little bit. So this is what I got so far. I ended up adding a little bit more percussion, some shaker, a little like top groove for the end. Then I got a little bit of glitter going on using the crystallizer. And then some vocal effects that I'll end up adding some extra echo on and stuff. I was going to add some more guitar on top, but one of these beautiful fur balls back there broke my input on my guitar. So no more guitar until I fix that.